Hey there. If your portraits are looking a little flat, perhaps a little lifeless, or just missing something, I'm betting this is probably why. And it's not just your editing. Let's have a little look at setting up some lighting to fix that flat lighting. We're talking control placement, shadow control, tonal depth. Let's go have a look. So this is a program called Set a Light 3D. It is a paid program that I've got. But what I really like about using this is I can play with lighting setups before I even go into the studio. Now I'm going to show you a lighting setup that we used from a recent shoot, and then I'm going to go through and show you how you can move things and change things around. Now you can check different models in. So I did go with this one, which is Kim, because you get different skin types and colours. So I thought I would just work in with that. Although when you look at the final images, I guess it's largely irrelevant because my makeup artist has painted a traditional geisha white face on my model Haruka. But that's okay. We're here about lighting, and then I'll get into a little bit with your white balance and how to fix that. So what we had here was we had our model on a black background. It's not the same costume or pose, but that's okay. I had my camera, basically we were setting up straight in front. And I work on the theory that if my model is standing, I will stand. And I will usually have my focus point on the eye. So that's the camera. Then for lighting, I had a Godox AD300 Pro with just an umbrella. And I had that on a light stand. And I had that aimed on a 45-degree angle into my model and above head height. So I can change the height of my light stand. I can change the position of my light. And I can also alter the direction that the light is pointing. Now I'm going to be having it pointing across her face. So you can see where it has put some shadows in and so forth. The next light that I had, so this was on 1:1 power on the Godox AD300. I then also had a Godox AD200 Pro 2 with a 85cm softbox. And I had that a little lower than I did this one over here, and I had it again pointed at her face, but I had it on about 1/2 power, and I had a softbox with diffusion on it. Now you can come in and you can set up your different mono lights, speed lights, helpers. So you've got scrims. I could put in, a cyclorama, light blockers, things like that. You can also add in different props, couches and things like that if you wish to. So there's a lot you can do with that, but I love coming in and working with this. I can move my lights around and see how that is going to affect shadows and things like that on my face or my model's face. And you get a little diagram down here about how things are. This is sort of how your images are going to look. I have also got up here full frame camera 1:1. My lens, which I was using, was a 24-70mm. I could have swapped it out for a 50mm or whatever, so you can click in there and you can go for whatever lens you want. My shutter speed was on 1/60th. I was on roughly about, I think it was actually about 7.1, and my ISO was on 100. My lights were set to 5600 Kelvin. So it has brought in a little bit of dynamic lighting to the image, whereas if I had just put it in front, so let's just Do that, bring it down. Let's just zoom out a little bit so we can hopefully see. So if I just have my light just in front of my model, and I can turn this one off, it's not going to give me quite what I'm looking for. Likewise, if I pull my light straight in, I can do like butterfly lighting or whatever underneath. Let me just pull my camera out of the way. When you've got too much stuff zoomed in there, it can be a little bit difficult to work with. Okay, so let's pull the camera back around. So from start to finish, you can work out getting some different lighting on your model. If you just have it straight in, perhaps I've got that one turned off. If I turn that one back on, I have got beautiful butterfly lighting from having one above and one below. So working around and playing with your lighting can make a huge difference. If I was to just have it, let's just move everything back around again. So if I had the two lots of lighting, it would give me a very, very different look again. The next thing you want to have a look at before you even take your photos is setting your white balance. Now, this particular image here, this is what it sort of looks like on auto balance. Now, my two flash that I was using were an AD300 and an AD200. I was also using on the red background some constant lights, which were the newer CB300C and CB200C, and they were both set at 5600 Kelvin, which is generally what I do just to have a good neutral beginning. I can come in and start looking at different white balance. I really love to be able to come in and play with the white balance settings on my camera, especially for really bright shots like this. Now this is the raw shot, completely unedited, and I have it set as shot. But how I did have it set was on cloudy, or you could use flash for this particular setup with it being so bright and so white. Now, you can play around with different settings, daylight, shade, and it has brought out some colour in the reds, but you will notice that it is also putting orange tones or blue tones into the model's face, which is not what I want for this particular type of shoot. So setting it to flash or cloudy works really well. You can also come in and you can, if you've got something to work with, you can set your white balance. So I did in a recent class, we were going through how to set up your light meter and how to set up your grey card for white balance. And I have done videos before, so I'll put links down below for those. But you can, if you've got a grey card, to come through and do that. So you can, of course, just come in and pick it yourself, and you can go through and you can alter things as well. But having your white balance set correctly, having your lights set to create some mood really can make a dramatic difference between having something that's very flat and having something that is quite tonal. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the whole edit, but I did come in Photoshop and I did a bit of a cleanup. I also took it into Apathy, which by Skylum, and I added some lookup tables and some skin smoothing in there. I also boosted the reds up. I also then come into Lumina Neo, which I only had at 54%, but I also added some dramatic lighting and things like that, but I found that it was making my image a little too yellow. So I then drop the opacity back from there. So there's no reason why you can't edit your images in Lightroom or Photoshop and then use other programs like Lumina or Apathy or whatever to add some contrast, some hue adjustments and lookup tables to really make it look good. From there, I saved it and went back into Lightroom. And in Lightroom, I came in and I added a post-crop vignette. It really wasn't a huge difference in editing per se with putting this image together, but it made a really big difference going from this image through to this final image. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you've got any comments or questions about lighting or using satellite or even setting your white balance on your camera, don't forget to put your questions down below. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on YouTube. Bye.